Good morning. My name is James Stratton, and welcome to day 2 of my program. I help people through some of the toughest times in their life through a process called mediation. And Monday through Thursday, we're going to study individual cases that have occurred in the state of Texas to see how the parties could have better handled the situation, whether or not mediation was appropriate for them and the best way to go. I want to thank everybody for comments that they left me yesterday. I've got to tell you, a lot of fun to get the program loaded to YouTube. That was a confidence builder, I will tell you. And there for a while, I did not trust it was actually going to get there. But we did manage to get it loaded to YouTube, and we also got it loaded on WordPress. And it's of that trust and confidence that we talk about today. That's the thrust of our program today. The vast majority of people, we enter relationships with individuals that we don't know. And over time, we develop trust with that individual, and we meter that trust out one step at a time until we gain confidence in them that they're actually going to be acting in our best interest, is the best way to put it. Conflict arises when doubt comes up, and as a result of somebody handling something that we feel inappropriate or maybe we misunderstood. And as a result, it breaks down the relationship between you and the other person. I'm reminded of a case that I was approached about involving a partnership. And this company was actually a Texas limited partnership. Now, in the state of Texas, in order to have a Texas limited partner, you do have to have a general partner. And that general partner is responsible for the partnership in its entirety. You can have limited partners, and they are responsible up to the value of their shares in the company. Well, in this particular case, this man not only invested in the company, but he worked for the company as well. But the company began to have some financial difficulties, and they found it necessary to lay off workers, and he ended up being one of them. Shortly after he was laid off, he wrote a letter to the general partner requesting documentation from the company. And the company believed that they were eventually going to be looking at a suit of an employment type. And so they refused to provide the limited partner with the documentation that he requested. Well, as a result, the limited partner sued the partnership, and so the suit was instigated for the release of the documents. Well, I was approached by the attorney that was actually representing the company as to whether or not I would mediate the case. And so I always try to get a little information on both sides of it. But in this particular case, he provided me with enough information that, one, made me realize that maybe I didn't want to do that particular case. But one of the things that we were looking at was the attorney himself had an absolute belief that this man was just out to ruin the company. And so he decided to prevent the limited partner from getting the documentation that he needed. And he ran this limited partner through the courthouse, both through the state courthouse, and then he had it transferred to federal court. Federal court rejected it at some point or another and sent it back to state court. And that's where they were at the time when he approached me. They were now at a situation where they were ordered by the court to mediate. In talking to him, I asked him, I said, well, is it possible that this limited partner may really have only been interested in selling his share of the company? And he said, what do you mean by that? Well, he wasn't working for the company anymore, and that's where his enjoyment was. He enjoyed it so much, is it possible that's the reason why he invested in the company? And now that he's not working for them, maybe he just wants a clean break. Well, the attorney asked me, he said, well, once again, I don't understand what's going on here. That didn't have anything to do with it. He signed an agreement stating how much the company was actually worth, or his share of the company was worth. And of course, my response to him was rather simple. Well, that's great between you and the limited partner, but what about if he's wanting to sell me his shares of the company? How do I know that this agreement that you guys signed is valid? One, how do I know what the shares of that company really is worth? You're never going to get me to even offer to buy your company unless I have the right to independently verify the value of the company through my CPA. And so I said, why don't you start off with doing something very simple by providing him with documentation that would lend to value the company and see what his response was. And that was free. I didn't charge him for that piece of information. He went back and did that. and provided the limited partner with some information, provided it to the lawyer, and guess what? That turned out to be it. He had a guy lined up that was going to buy his shares of the company pending the approval of the general partner. And so that ended up resolving the case. By the way, we're going to keep this program short today because I want to make sure I can get this loaded up to YouTube without any problems. Please understand that the program will be longer in the future because we're actually going to be looking physically at paperwork out of different cases. And we're going to analyze those things and see those cases and see how the people involved have done a better job at resolving this on their own and through a mediator. And one of the things I want you to take away from this is one of the roles of a mediator is to help the parties be able to negotiate better with one another than what they could have done together. Obviously, if there's animosity, it's a little bit difficult for you to want to talk to another person who's upset you. And that's one of my jobs. One of the things you can do is you can visualize, if you will, a maze on a table, and you're running through this maze. Inside this maze is a bunch of traps, some of them made by yourself, some of them made by the adversary, and some of them made by the court system itself. Your job is to make it through the other side of the maze unscathed. Well, as you might imagine, fear steps in, and it prevents you from making decisions that you might be able to make normally because you don't understand the layout. As a mediator, I get the 30,000-foot view down on top of that maze, and I can help the both of you navigate your way through the sand traps and the traps that are laid there for you, where you can make it through to the finish line. I thank everybody for their comments they left yesterday. They were great comments. We'll try to do better in the future. Technology will get better. I'm enjoying looking at myself in this camera and watching the frames move really slow. It's awkward. So in the future, we'll get a better software to see if we can help out with that. Until then, thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.